So today I'm going to show you two-dimensional and three-dimensional. We're going to learn how to do some three-dimensional objects. First, to know the difference. So a two-dimensional object like this circle is just a shape. It has length and it has height. When we move over to a three-dimensional object, we are also adding dimension. So now it has form, it has volume to it. And we're going to be doing this just on a piece of brown paper bag that I cut apart. That way I've got my highlights and I've also got my mid-tones, which are the mid-range values. And I'm going to start with the white crayon. And I'm just going to lightly draw my circle. You could also use something to trace if you wanted to. The next thing you're going to do is you need to choose where you want your light source to be. So I'm going to have my light source coming in from the left and I'm going to choose a window. Now you wouldn't put just a rectangle right there because when we're putting a reflection on a glass ball, something that's rounded, it's going to distort it and it's going to make it the shape of the highlight follow the contour. So I'm going to start with a rounded line and then just kind of bring it over. So I've got my distorted highlight of a window out there. Then as the light comes through, it's going to bounce through that glass marble, and I'm going to do this side with the white. Now I don't want to go solid all the way through. I want to make sure that I'm using pressure. So remember those tornadoes I taught you at the beginning of the year. So we're going to start with hard pressure, and then it's going to blend it out with really super light pressure. The cool thing about crayons is that it's really going to teach you how to push hard and how to push soft. So to start with, I want this side to be super, super light with the black. So I'm just going to barely scrape that crayon along the paper so that I just get a tone. A tone is a value put on the paper. And then I'm going to come around the highlight of the window. Okay, there we go. And you see how that just barely, you can see so much of the brown paper bag through it because I was pushing so softly. Okay, then what I'm gonna do is my highlight is coming through. So I'm going to put my white through here. And as I get further away, I'm going to make it so that it kind of fuzzes out a bit. So by fuzzing it out, I mean by pushing lighter so that I don't have as much crayon on the bag. Then I'm going to come back with my black and I'm going to do the shadow right underneath it. That's still going to be dark. And then we're going to wrap around that highlight. So the darkest part is going to be next to the bottom of the ball where it's sitting on the table. And you also need to keep it in that oval shape because as it goes through the glass round circle or sphere, it's going to distort it and it's going to make it look more like an oval. And then as the shadow goes away, moves away from the sphere, it's going to diffuse. So it's going to get lighter and lighter and less sharp. The edges are not going to be sharp the further it gets away from the glass sphere. Okay. So there's that. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to darken up this side right here. And then just blend that in. So notice how I'm doing just like these little tiny shapes, these little circles, these little itty bitty tornadoes. That way I don't have lines on it. And I'm going carefully with my craftsmanship so that I don't have spaces in between, but I'm keeping my coloring very close together. Okay. And we're just going to add a little bit more right through here. Just lightly scraping the crayon on there, but everything's close together. I don't have big gaps. So there is our glass marble. Okay, now the cool thing about learning a technique is that you can apply it to other things. So I'm going to show you how to do the dragon's eye. Okay, so I'm going to start out by doing a circle again. And then I'm going to have, because it's a dragon eye, I want it to come diagonally across for the eyelid. So the top eyelid is going to go diagonally across. The top of the eyeball is tucked underneath his eyelid. Then the bottom one is going to start kind of in from the edge of the top eyelid. Comes down there and meets up there. So I have these two triangles on either side. Then what I'm going to do is I've got a sphere inside of a socket, which means that it's rounded. So I want a highlight to go across to show that the light is hitting the top right here. Okay, so there's my highlights. And you want to work from light to dark when you're doing crayons. The light doesn't really go on top of the dark very well. Then I'm going to put my slit kind of like a snake pupil in here, or a cat eye for my dragon. And then I'm going to do an orange, yellow, and red eye. So I'm going to start by putting some white around the pupil because I want to start there with yellow, and because I'm on a brown paper bag, the yellow won't show up. It's too translucent, so I need to put something underneath it. And then I want to make sure not to color over the top of my highlight, so I'm going to start, then I'm going to stop where my highlight is and start below it. And I'm also going to come out further than the white was because my next color is going to be orange, and it's going to need a little bit of something to sit on too, and the yellow will help it. Okay, notice how I'm not coloring straight up and down on my circle, because if I did that, it would start to flatten it out, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm still following the contour of the eyeball. And then I'm also going to bring this out a little bit further so that I can go to my next color, which is going to be kind of a red-orange color. And I'm going to define the edge. That way I can keep it neat. And then if you'll notice right here, do you see how I have that line going on? I really don't want a straight line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take little tiny circles and I'm just going to blend that line in. So little tiny circles to blend it in, still keeping the shape of a circle. Okay, so now the next part you might think would be, let's put the shadow in with black, right? Actually, the color that you want to use is a blue, because the blue with the orange is going to create a really great shadow. So I'm going to define my edge again so that I can keep it nice and neat. I don't want to go past that line. And then with little circles, I'm just going to lightly blend, darker towards the edge of it, but then go lighter with less pressure towards the center. Do you see how that's starting to curve it? It's making it look not like a flat disc, but more like a circle. Okay, and I'm almost out of time on the video that I can put up, so just hurry and show you this part of it. So do you see how that worked? And then you can go in with the black and get the pupil. Now I don't want right across here to be super dark because that's my highlight. So my dark part is going to be up by the eyelid where it covers the eye and creates a shadow, and then down below it. So right through here I'm going to do just super light pressure. So that I've got my highlight coming across my eye. And then you'll just apply the same kind of technique with the scales so that you have form there. So you've got it so that there's light, and then you've got the dark shadows, and you can put a little bit of highlights on top of them, and then just kind of work your shadows in. So remember, this eyelid is covering here, so you need to have more shadows underneath it. And I'll post some more pictures of some of the steps. Okay, thanks.